Happy birthday, America. The CNN, independence from the Queen, the Zio Saudis, what do they all have to do with each other? And our independence, who did we win it from, and is it in danger? This is all in my opinion. Today, my name is Amid. I'm a Syrian American. Sometimes you wonder, why were you put on this earth? I feel like I was put on this earth to warn my fellow Americans of what's happening currently. You see, back in 1895, I'm going to expose a couple of lies. Okay, back in 1895, the British Empire was at its height. It cooked up two entities to enslave the world as it saw its military might was beginning to collapse. One of the places they wanted to enslave the most was retrieve our colonies back. And this cooked up scam has been in place since 1905. You remember a guy named Teddy Roosevelt? If I asked you who was a good guy, Teddy Roosevelt or Rockefeller, which one would you say? I would say Rockefeller, because he was a good man, and Teddy Roosevelt was not a good man. So in this story, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what they set up behind us. And what they set up is to eventually enslave us here through various systems. In 1911, Teddy Roosevelt went to what is now known as Saudi Arabia. Oh, and by the way, I'm carrying the flag, and I'm doing this story in front of the flag for a reason. Last night, I was at the 4th of July celebration in Akron, and I recorded it, and I said, "Happy birthday, America." And a Syrian American goes, "How could you be loyal to America and be loyal to Syria? You idiot. I live in America. This is my home. I'm just as proud of being an American as I am of being a Syrian." You see, the difference between a Syrian and an American is very little. We both love freedom, and I like to guard the American freedom. Please, please share this, because when I'm done explaining, you would know we are currently in the same kind of danger that Teddy Roosevelt put us in back in 1911. You see, we didn't have a war machine back then. He sent his 4 children gloriously to Europe. By the way, I'm working against the sun, but I really want the flag on my face or behind me because I'm very proud of the flag. And that's what I look like. So I'm going to go back and put the flag on. Okay? So what Teddy did is he set up a deal with the Saudis that they would create a state and that would eventually create the Zio state. Has nothing to do with Judaism. As a matter of fact, they conned the Jews of Morocco and the Jews of Aleppo to come under some false pretenses, telling them that, oh, you're prosecuted or persecuted and you come here and you'll feel better. Well, homes in Aleppo to this day are still left empty for the Jews to come back home. They never were prosecuted or persecuted in Syria. Yeah, they took them there, and now they are living in the southwest corner of Syria. There's no such thing as Israel. That doesn't mean we're going to throw the Israelites into the sea. The Israelites were always Syrians. And the state of, quote, Israel is actually a heresy, because the name Israel infers God, and they're pretending to be gods with naming themselves after such. They've always been, for 5,000-6,000 years, they've been a loved and a part of Syria. Now, why am I talking about CNN, Saudi Arabia, and the Zio entity? Now, we collapsed their OPEC. They're starting a brand new OPEC. When Trump went to Saudi Arabia recently, he basically sold our infrastructure. And soon, you're going to see your turnpike rates go up. So why is that happening? This is going to be a little bit backward, but that's okay. It says Business Insider, Volvo is one of the first companies to completely convert to electric. In 3 years, Volvo will be making all cars electric. What that means, oil is no longer important. So Saudis, being that the sick heads, all they know is monopoly, they're losing the oil monopoly, and we cut a dumb deal with them back in '71 to back up our dollar. And in a minute, I'm going to talk about how we can actually get away from that deal. But here's what the Saudis plan to do. This is a headline from today. It says, now charging for roads by the mile in England. This is what the story looks like. Both stories, no, one of the stories is in Google News Today. That's the one about Tesla. And I believe the other one, Business Insider, is also in there. What they want to do is come here and take our toll roads and shoot up the price of the tolls on you, my fellow Americans, through the roof. That's the Saudi plan, okay? We can stop them by just exposing them. Please share this. And we're doing all of this because they underlie our U.S. dollar, which we are afraid is going to collapse. Well, we can prevent that by doing something that all involved, including the Saudis, would appreciate, which is take the Syrian lira and make it the basis, because the Syrian lira, you see, is based on farming, on agriculture, on oil, on resources they have. The Saudi is strictly on oil, which is becoming no longer a scarce commodity, and they could no longer force it. So God bless America. Now, at the end, I mentioned CNN on top. I believe the Queen is the head of the snake. And the reason all of this setup is done is because the British people continuously get hammered by the Queen to come up with more money. Remember earlier this year, I made you a video. It says the Queen is pretending to be sick again. Watch what happened. She got a 75% pay raise. When somebody shared a Britannica, we don't care for you anymore, recently, it got shared 3,000 times. It was Bill from India that shared that with us. So, okay, Bill, I messed up the country this time. Anyway, for you guys that want to know history a little bit, CNN is necessary to keep their feet to the fire during this process. Now, I've called CNN and suggested the storyline to talk about 1895. The British Empire was at its height. It cooked up the Zayo entity and it cooked up the Saudi entity. They're both fake criminal enterprises, in my opinion. The Zayo entity is not Jewish. It's a dream of a bunch of Polish people that had converted to Judaism back when the persecution of the Christianity was happening. If you look in history, the Polish slum had two choices. They could convert to Catholicism or they can convert to Judaism. It's the only other accepted religion. A lot of them converted to Judaism. People like Bibi Netanyahu are probably not Jewish at all, but they use us here in the United States. And because you're all waking up, they consider you no longer the cow that can be milked. Today, they're not hosting Americans, they're hosting India. They hope they'll be the next sucker cow. So, if you care, first of all, I'm trying to support CNN in this little fight. I voted for Trump, by the way. So, Mr. Trump, if you really value this country, please don't go the way Teddy Roosevelt went or the way FDR went. Please go the way Coolidge did and do the right thing for America. Dump Saudi Arabia, dump the Zayo entity, and let's just use the Syrian lira as a basis for the dollar instead of the Saudi dollar. By the way, we're subjugated by the Queen. The way you figure that out is look at the money. Their money is more valuable than our money, okay? So Saudi money is 4-1, Israeli money 4-1, and our money does like a portion of the British. Please share.